Did I read that one sentence?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yes. Calling to order. The revised open meeting law.
Yeah.
As the recent amendments to the open meeting law allows, the Board of Health will continue to hold meetings remotely. Adequate alternative access to the meeting is provided through the Zoom link. That sounds good. I'd like to introduce the board members and the health department staff. Start with you, Phil.
4 Acrely member.
Marco Calzolo, board member.
Eric Kaplan, vice chair.
Jill Cahill, Chief Administrative Officer.
Leo O'Leary, financial specialist with Health Department.
Leslie Whalen, sanitarian.
Chelsea Wilson Walsh, Prevention Director.
Bree Gray, Health Inspector.
Jake Taylor, Health and Food Inspector.
Cindy Junker, Public Health Nurse.
We got Tom.
And there's John.
Ah, Don. And I'll
Hi,
just,
Don Ganem, Board of Health member.
thank you. Public oral communication for non-agenda items, 3 minutes per person. Is there anybody on?
No,
Okay, thank you. I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of the 11th, 2023 meeting, unless there's some comments or changes that anyone needs to make.
Second.
All in favor? It's gonna be a roll, I think.
4 yes.
Marco, yes.
Eric, yes. Don?
Yes, Don Ganem, yes.
Thank you.
I was coming around.
Committee work, Don, you're only can stay on till when?
About
Can't hear you.
about 6:30.
Well, you should be okay.
Okay, thank you.
Jake, food
Yeah.
safety.
All right, month of May, we had 1 food complaint, 23 inspections, 1 re-inspection due to the complaint, and 4 events. We had the Little League Parade, which was all members of the Gloucester Little League and Softball Associations with the Gloucester High School softball and baseball. Ended up going from Burnham's Field all the way through downtown, down to Stage Court Park. It was hundreds and hundreds of people. We had the Bluefin 5K Marathon. It was a half marathon to raise money for the annual Bluefin Blowout for the city of Gloucester. We had the Gloucester Education Foundation Arts Festival, which was really nice right down at City Hall and the library and everything. They had a bunch of different things set up for children as far as wood carving, art exhibits and everything like that, 4 different food trucks. And we had the Maritime Concert Series began with a big concert with the Sea Shanty something band, and they ended up recording it and whatnot. So it was a good time, busy month to start the summer. Sorry.
This month, in May, we did 15 rental unit inspections, responded to 8 complaints. And then with the start of the warmer weather, started pool inspections. So I've done 6 so far and we have 16 pools. I did check that, so getting there. And 7 annual / periodic safety inspections with the building and fire department. And we've started beach testing. We've been doing the creek for a few weeks now, but we started officially May 22nd doing all of the beaches and they've all been looking great.
The creek too.
The creek too. Yep,
Everything's open.
creek this was 10. Was 10, yep.
10 and under for everything.
Mhm.
Must have found the sewer leak.
They did tell me very.
I wish we knew.
I don't care, as long as the numbers are good. Leslie.
I think Chelsea said.
Oh, no, you're next.
Yeah.
I'm later.
Okay, so in your packet is my list of things that kept me busy for the last 3 weeks of May. Anyone has any questions? If not, moving right along.
It goes right to your subcommittee.
All right.
We'll do the motions. Discussion.
So I think Thor has the stuff for 667 Western Ave to make that motion.
So we can go forward with that. Okay,
667 West Main.
remember that one? Yep, all right. I move to approve the variances as reviewed and recommended for approval by the septic review subcommittee at a meeting held on April 27, 2023 for 667 Western Ave, as noted in the minutes of the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Thor, yes.
Marco, yes.
Eric, yes.
Don's fine. Don, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Doug. And the next one is the 171 Magnolia Ave. I move to grant the exemption and to recommend to the planning board the approval of the proposed cluster development subdivision at 171 Magnolia Avenue, subject to the following recommendations and conditions as outlined in a letter from James McKenna dated May 22nd, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
I'm recused from this one, but
Marco, yes.
Eric, yes.
Don, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was good working with your subcommittee.
It's good working with you too.
You know, I really felt we cleared a lot of ground, and what a knowledgeable group you have. They were very well served.
We did a lot of work.
Yes, we did. And it doesn't show here, but we did a lot of work. And I think we've come a long way. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of the applicant and the team. Thank you. And your staff.
Especially the staff.
Doesn't have to stay.
He's got public comment.
Oh, okay. I don't think we have
We don't have anybody online, but Mr. McCarthy did have something.
Oh, we should have started with that. Please. So I don't know if you want to take things out of order.
Well,
Because he's not up there.
I had, I realized that somebody.
In person, me either.
Yes, all right. Would you like to?
I have one guest that has a raised hand as well.
Great.
Just 1 second, so you need to let them know the public notification's out of order. We're returning back to.
I'm going out of order and we're going back to the yeah.
Public oral.
Oh, yes, public oral communications for non-agenda items.
My name is Steve McCarthy. I represent 300 plus homeowners in the Coffins Beach area. There are other neighbors out there that hopefully will speak up on the Atlantic Street side. The construction that's going on over there is trying to think of a kind word for it, but I can't. It's awful. I don't know if you've driven over there. None of the silt fence is protected. I know this isn't a board of health, but it really is because they're letting a lot of silt, a lot of debris flow right into the clam beds, right into the marsh. It seems like there's no oversight in there. If you drive over, do yourself a favor, drive over and see how a construction job is not supposed to be done. There's yards of material right over the silt fence. They were pumping silty water from one side from Sleepy Hollow Pond, which is a natural brackish water. A lot of hatchery going on in there. And they're pumping silt into that and out of that across the street, back into where the clam flats are. And so the neighbors are just concerned, and we just wish there would be some more oversight on that project as it goes forward.
Lizzie, do you have any comments about what's going on?
It sounds like something for the Shellfish Warden and the Conservation Commission.
Everyone's involved. So,
They've been over there. I
They're-
think somebody's
On a
got
daily
a
basis.
phone call or two, but I
yes.
need to plug in
Yeah.
where I represent the 300 houses. They're very concerned. I'm getting calls left and right.
DPW's on site, conservation's on site.
They are doing a great job. It's kind of,
Yeah.
wrangling cats at this point, but people are concerned.
I'm sure.
They're just damaging the resource there. It's awful. Thank you.
I have a guest that would like to speak.
Yes. Yes. We should allow them to speak.
You can go ahead. Please state your name.
I think they must be muted.
Yeah, Tim, if you can unmute. You might not realize it was him.
Sorry about that. Thanks for acknowledging me. I just want to back up what Steve just talked about. Specific to the Board of Health, I think there's issues. I think there's a lot of issues across the overall project, and I think there needs to be much better coordination, within the city's resources. I think Steve summed it up best. But it is pretty concerning, just other issues we've had with water outages for residents, obviously not the problem of this board. Disruptions in terms of public safety. It's been an absolute nightmare for residents, and obviously impacting the environment as well. So would like to see the city collectively across all the departments provide more oversight. The contractor and developer obviously has a clear disregard for concern for both the environment as well as the residents in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there another one?
No. Oh, we have Chris Falk. Hold on. Please state your name.
Christine Falk. I live out at Coffin Beach. I have also the same concerns with what is going on into the marsh, the sedge falling in, the disregard for people who live here, the signs that are put up that for us to try and get out are put up in places we don't see till we get to the front gate, sending other traffic through here. This is a concern for the city. We should have been notified that all this was going to be a huge impact on us and a huge impact on the traffic going to Wingershik Public. I wish there had been a coordination with the city. I know the health board has nothing to do with this, but the health board will because of all the condos that are being put down there and the traffic mess it's going to cause. I just wish somehow the town, I don't know if we go to city council. It's just a shame that you have such a wonderful resource in this town that is being polluted by a company that could care less. Thank you.
Can I add that something to my wife saying that I'm Irv Falk, I live at the same establishment too? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks for all the work you do, guys. I know it's you listen to a lot of complaints and things like that. I've been down here. We've owned this property for 40 years. We were living full-time here 20 years. One concern you might not hear of, which I think is, my feeling of these guys are Fonzie is, they need their act cleaned up definitely from all different angles. But from a health standpoint, we're getting all sorts of gray water in our system here, from our drinking water to our toilets and whatever, because the water's been turned on and off. They blew the lines out, and this project's continuing. We have no entrance for an emergency standpoint. We have no entrance to Wingershik right now. The hole's in there, and it's a very, very narrow area, and I understand, but it just seems to be from all standpoints, a health issue, a morale issue here for us out here, these 300. Steve has been getting, I know, and Mike McMahon and people have been getting a lot of calls and back and forth, what's going on with, and now the summer's starting, and this is going to be a real cluster, guys. And secondly, it looks like napalm hit that hill, and I can't believe anybody that the trees are down. They just raped the street, the whole hill. It was a beautiful area. And I don't know what any committee could have ever proved this, but whoever should be accountable for something here. And there should be definite eyes kept on this project. That's my 2 cents. And Steve, thanks for all the help you've been doing. And the health board, thank you too. This has to be corrected some way, shape or form. Thank you.
Thank you, paid for by the.
I have one other person that would like to make a comment. Please state your name.
What?
I have a Bruce Alessio that has their hand up.
They
They've
haven't,
been,
maybe they're not on mute.
Bruce, can you please unmute?
Okay, hi. You know what? I've got the same concerns right at the corner area we live. I don't even think the fire hydrant is working here. I think they shut it off. They shut off the water to it. So you know what? That's a concern. And it's just a mess around here. The water, our drinking water periodically turns brown. I was actually sick the other day, possibly from it. I'm not sure. Getting a lot of ear in the pipes, banging sounds, and it seems so disorganized, and it's just a mess. And I see the water flowing off into the marsh area, and it's serious. It's a serious concern, and I just want to share my feelings.
Thank you.
And I just want to thank the committee for acting upon this and doing stuff, because even the traffic leaving, you know what? I have my wife goes out early in the morning, and the comment that's been said to her, she should be leaving earlier. You know, the line is horrible here, and it isn't a good situation at all. Thank you.
Maybe also.
I don't see anything.
That's it.
Thank you.
Communicable disease reporting.
So we had 37 communicable disease investigations for the month of May. I included that in your packet. Also, I had a vaccine clinic on May 4th. We did 8 shingles vaccines and 3 COVID boosters. I have remaining 22 private purchase shingle vaccines in my inventory. And I have 75 remaining COVID boosters in my inventory as well. Our next shingles and COVID-19 booster vaccine clinic will be on June 15th. We are skipping the month of July. We couldn't find a date at the Y, and I feel like we probably wouldn't get too many people in the middle of July anyway. And August 10th is our second summer vaccine clinic, and they're going to run from 3 to 5 p.m. at KPNY-MCA. And we're also offering free blood pressure checks at that clinic at the clinics as well. That's it from me.
Chelsea, you're up.
From the prevention side of things, some of our grant funded initiatives that, excuse me, that we have coming up include our North Shore Teen Summer Send-Off event on Saturday, June 17th from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the McPherson Youth Center in Beverly. The reason it's in Beverly is because we have several regional grants for Cape Ann, Danvers, Beverly, and Ipswich. This is a youth-led event, and we'll be providing free transportation from Gloucester High School to the event and back. So we are very much encouraging all high school students to attend. It's free. There'll be a resource fair with mental health resources as well as tons of fun events. We recently, the health department tabled at the Greater Cape Ann Chamber of Commerce Fall Fest. Cindy was there.
Yes.
On Saturday, May 20th at Harvey Park in Rockport. Despite the rain, we did still get a lot of visitors and we were able to provide information and resources on tick prevention, sun safety, youth leadership opportunities, substance use prevention, and mental health resources. A couple updates funding wise, we received a renewal for an additional year of funding through the Peter and Elizabeth Tower Foundation to support our teen mental health initiative. We also received a donation of $200 from the Associated Charities of Gloucester to support a pizza and movie night for teens and kids who live at the Riverdale Park Community Center. So we thank these donors very much for their generosity, and we will be planning that event, hopefully with community input. And just that's our youth prevention initiatives. In terms of the Healthy Aging Grant, the city sustained a portion of funding in this upcoming fiscal year to support a version of the Seniors on the Go program. So Rosalie DeCastro is working closely with Elise at the Council on Aging to create an updated schedule that will fit the needs of senior citizens. So stay tuned for what that will look like. But we're very grateful and excited that that was supported by the city. And I believe that's it for me.
Is Joyce gonna be joining us?
This is right there. I will switch spaces with you guys, because I gotta head out.
I always come in the wrong door.
Well, no, that was the right door this time. So do you guys want to escape or we're moving around, or you want to stick around? for the back?
Escape.
The great escape.
Thank you, everyone.
Unless you also are interested in tobacco regulations.
Nope.
Come on.
I'm going to have a cigar.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're still working on getting.
Hello all.
Hi, so.
So I think all of you have a highlighted draft. And the highlights are the things that we talked about that you wanted to put in. It starts on page 9.
That was a highlight on page 8.
There is?
Yeah.
Very bottom.
Oh, mine is just on it, mine printed differently.
This is the one.
Okay, thank you.
Do bolded things on the other pages mean anything? or-
The bolded all mean that that's state law, so it's the minimum that you guys can go with. So the highlights. And I just do want to tell you, like, we can get through a lot of this because the permit renewal for existing and outstanding fines was already in your regulation. But it was a question we asked, so when I highlighted, I'll talk about the ones you already had and the ones we put in. So this is kind of we don't have to focus that much on it because it was already in your old regulation. No permit renewal with 3 sales to a minor within the 36 months. So that is number 7.
On page 9.
Yes, and if I'm going too fast, you slow me right down. And as I indicated, all the bold is state law, so we just included it. The next one is about the cap. And you guys had, before, prior to this, you had a retiring cap, which would have slowly reduced anybody who went out of business. And we changed that to just a regular cap, and we moved from the 36, number 36, to the 33 and not left one open, I believe.
Joyce, before you go too far, I'm looking at something that Joe sent me.
Okay.
On party section 9. Oh, and also part S, section 2. They had a shall and will. And he suggested he would choose shall.
And what
It's
section?
section 2 under part S. Let's do that one first.
Yes.
I remember I read it, it had a slash. That's no one will. It should be shall.
Anyone finds it, can you just let us know the page? Oh, okay, so we're not going back, we're going forward. Okay. Thank you, Leslie. Page 13.
Violations.
We're actually talking about the shall be opposed to will be. Page 13, section, paragraph 1.
You say shall twice in that.
Part S.
Oh, that.
Part S.
Two.
Section 2.
Oh, I see, I
Well,
see, I
it's
see.
shall may, yeah, that's what it was.
So we're gonna
Shall
go
may.
with shall. That's fine, I can do that for. And what else did he have? Are we gonna jump ahead or behind? I don't know.
Behind, it's this one is a little more complicated. This one has to do with part E, section 9.
Page 9.
Leslie. You're amazing.
So
Yes. He had some concerns about this, and I'll read it to you because it's confusing to me. Maybe you'll be able to understand exactly what he's talking about. He says, while I'm comfortable with the basic cap on the number of licenses, I'm still not convinced that Part E, Section 9, sale of a business protects the small convenience stores. As an example, run by someone who rents the premises from a landlord, I presume the renter, not the landlord, is the permit holder. If the renter decides to quit the business, he or she would have no interest in for the transfer of the permit. I'd like the landlord to be able to again rent the space as a convenience store with a continued license. It is not clear to me, and I certainly could be wrong about this, that this is the E9AB.
So this was his, actually, his recommendation was the 90 days. We typically would say 30 days. So convenience store, not thinking about the landlord because they don't hold the permit, but obviously they hold the space. So the value of the store to sell to another store owner makes sense.
Yes.
If he wants to, I can't imagine increasing it more than 90 days because if that property just stays vacant or becomes a barber shop, you know what I'm saying? It's, so 90 days is a long time for, or I feel like it's your decision, but a long enough time for them to rent it if someone is making an interest that they want that to be a convenience store. And typically it would be like Joyce Redford Variety, and I'm selling it to you. I'm selling my business. Now you have a contract to make with your landlord for rent and whatever. But
separate.
The business value is what holds on to the tobacco permit, and it's not transferable, but this gives you 90 days to come to the Board of Health and ask them for. And typically, almost every other community is 30 days. But that was his language to safeguard the permit holder.
I think Joe's concern was someone might like leave a rental unit and then the permit, expires or they're not able to renew it in time because there's no renter coming in. That's what I think that's what he was kind of.
You know what?
Yeah.
If we take out if we're staying with 33, and someone comes into that and they've turned in their permit, and the simple cap is not retiring it, then the city will have a permit to give them.
Right.
Because that
Yeah,
was my.
that was
So
right.
that, so that
We didn't wanna lose
so it's still-
Right, so if it were retiring, even that 90 days would make sense, but because it's not retiring, they could come in, as long as that permit's available, they could come in whenever.
Right.
Yeah,
All right.
But someone could come in and get that permit if they put an establishment somewhere else potentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cause we would start like a waiting list at that point, if we had
Exactly.
people interested, right? Yeah.
and at this time, there are a couple open, like the energy, the mobile
Yeah,
down,
there, we got a email about that today, their tobacco license.
so they do
That
want
basket,
it.
yeah. so-
Okay, well, that's good, so they had one, but there's construction, but that would be in,
But that would be
That's a
the
good
whole, that's the
example.
whole 90-day thing there, because it's not the store's fault that the construction process is taking longer.
exactly.
So if all of a sudden it was only 30 days, there can, people doing their construction's like, well, we're not gonna be done for 60 days, then all of a sudden they'd lose their license altogether.
Well, you know what else they can do? I mean, this came up with someone else, especially if it's about construction. Let's say they anticipated that they would be open within that 90 days and something happened with construction or something else. I mean, who knows, any catastrophe. All they have to do is come in and renew it and just pay for the permit, even if they don't have the building complete.
Right, yeah.
So that, and it has happened in other municipalities. So as long as they hold a permit that's active, even if the building isn't there or the store is being renovated, that we've at least got that permit assigned to them. So I think that his concerns are addressed.
That's good, okay, I understood that now.
So where did we leave off? Okay, so number 4, which is actually 10, retail density. We had 500 feet. You guys determined this was not in your formal regulations, so 500 feet from a new establishment. So if there's already an existing establishment closer than that, it's fine. But no new establishment can be opened 500 feet, less than 500 feet away from the school. The next one is 5, how close, and it's actually B on that same page, under 10, page 9B. 1,000 feet, new establishment from an existing retail or tobacco permit. And retail is like this because it gives them value to their permit.
Was there a different number before? Or
No,
number?
there was no number.
We have one establishment in town right now that violates that rule already, though.
But it's new.
Oh, for brand new
Yeah,
establishments.
so you probably have one, I'm not sure, but it's pretty close to the high
7-Eleven,
school.
Sonny's Variety, yeah.
So
over in that
they're- yeah,
neighborhood and everything, that's
yeah.
less than 1,000
Well,
feet of it.
railroad,
Yeah,
liquor
railroad
and
liquors.
Shaw's,
Railroad and Shaw's, yeah.
but it's
exactly.
only if there's a new establishment, so.
Yeah.
Prohibition of smoking bars, that was a yes. It was in the regulation in that we made no exception. So in your ETS regulation, which is your workplace reg, we made no exception for smoking bars. So it's always been that you didn't allow smoking bars because we didn't make an exception for them. Now we just explicitly say that in this regulation.
Yeah, private clubs got that smoking years ago.
Yes. The cigar pricing you already had, so we'll go to prohibition of blunt wraps. I believe that 2 was in here already. Yes, it's in the current regulation, as was the cigar pricing, $2.50 for 1, $5 for 2 or more. Again, retailers like that. They're the ones who get the benefit if they buy it for 50 cents, they sell it for $2.50. It's like, and I will say that went in quite a while ago, and the thing that we've seen change is that some retailers ought not to carry singles. They just decide not to, they'll carry a pack for, with 4 for $5. Free distribution of tobacco products and redemption of coupons. Both of those, let's see if I'm in the right place here.
That's got
Yeah.
that already, right?
And those already existed in your current regulation. So we didn't change it, but it was something we discussed, so I just highlighted anything that we discussed. Self-service displays, again, was in your regulation. And that also is an AG's regulation that's been in effect forever. Educational Institute. So I don't know if you had this one.
I think we did.
You did. It was in your current regulation. So that just means if you had a school, college, let's say a bookstore that sold tobacco, it's prohibited. But that was in your old regulation as well. So that isn't new. Now this one, defining structure, you voted, so we have some things, and that would be the cigar pricing and packaging, that $2.50 for one, $5 for two or more. That, or blunt wraps, if they, so those two things are not in state law. So you could potentially be finding someone for having those 100, 200, or 300. That was what it was prior to state law. State law didn't capture those two things, and it makes sense to kind of bring it all in. It's a violation of this regulation, and it's, you agreed, at least when we were talking about, did you want this? It was yes. It also saves a lot of administrative, because if I sold a blunt wrap and it's my first violation, and I was, or better yet, if I sold to a minor, it'd be $1,000 fine and a 3-day suspension. And then if 6 months later we did an inspection and they had blunt wraps, it would be a $200. And then if they did something that was in state law, it'd be $5,000. It's just easy to have it all be, this is one regulation, you can't violate any section of it.
Even 2,000.
Yeah, 1,000, 2,000, and 5,000, that's state law. And the suspensions, so previously in your regulation, for the second violation within 36 months, it was it was the $2,000 fine plus a 7-day suspension of the tobacco permit. And in the case of a third, it was 30 days within and 5,000. But the state said you're required to have a suspension on a first violation when it's a sale to a minor. So we had to determine, they say anywhere from 1 to 30 days. I recommended there 3 days rather, because it's in line with your 7-day. 1 day is very hard to track, like to come back up here and say, did you take all this product out? Is it back? So 3 days is what you agreed on in the draft. Moving to the next page, we're going to correct that, or pick shall on number 2. So this just goes on, if you don't let us go into your establishment when we're here for an inspection, it would be a 30 consecutive day business issue.
I have a question with number 4.
Yep.
Where it says, the sale or distribution of tobacco products while their permit is suspended shall be subject to the suspension of all Board of Health issued permits for 30 days. So basically, if they end up getting their tobacco license pulled, does that mean all their food permits end up getting pulled from the
That's
store
the
as well?
language. This may be, maybe
So
it's
that
time to
would be
say
completely
may.
shutting the entire business down at that point, opposed to just their tobacco regulations being
Right.
shut down. So I vote to change that to may be subject to suspend all Board of Health all Board of Health permits, opposed to shall. But also I'm not a member of the board, so I don't know what that means.
You voted.
Yeah.
But it brings to light a good issue. If
Because
you
if all of
put,
a sudden you figure just a small corner retail store that's selling, cigarettes, bread, milk, and this, if all of a sudden they bought selling to a minor and I pull their food retail permit, then all of a sudden that store is shut down and has nothing to it.
well, and I would say the other part about may in this case
Yeah.
is if they were egregious,
Oh, yeah. I understand.
multiple,
Yeah.
may means you may
Yeah.
shut them down, you may pull them
Oh,
off.
yeah, yeah.
So
That's why I think may opposed to shall.
That's up to
in
you,
that
the board.
terminology, but That's what.
Dawn?
Do we have to take a vote for that?
Number 4.
I would just say
on page
yes to
13.
come forward with a firm draft for your public hearing, which will be the next meeting, I'm assuming.
I agree with Jake. I think it should be.
Is everyone? Yes, yes, okay, good. I can fix that. Good catch. This is just about the suspension. This was in your prior, notice to appeal within 7 days. And that's just language from typical language number 6. And that's it. So those 2 corrections are all we'll do. And then the next decision is the intent of the board to have the public hearing at the next meeting.
That was the other, thing. The vote on Thursday is only decided on the final draft version.
Correct.
A vote to accept or reject the revision to the regs will be at a subsequent public hearing.
Yeah.
Board meeting, likely to be our next board meeting in July. That meeting will solicit public comment.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
So we have to take a vote on the final draft version.
yes, I would just say move with these two amendments. Yep.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Laura, yes.
Marco, yes.
Eric, yes.
John, yes.
So my only question, Lee,
Yes.
for you as well, I'm going to correct this
Yes.
with these two minor details.
Yes.
Do you want it sent as a final draft with the highlights or take it all out and have it read like a regular regulation? It's entirely up to you. There aren't that many, there's not, I mean, there's like two sections that are really new. And I can say honestly, Beverly just had a public hearing at their Board of Health meeting and no one showed up. And these aren't huge changes, so I don't anticipate you'll have a huge crowd. I'm not saying no one will be here. But so leaving it in would, I don't know if you're gonna post it somewhere or would you post the draft somewhere?
I believe so.
So maybe the highlights make sense to leave in,
At least to help the public.
Yeah.
Differentiate.
decide what they're really deciding on.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So I'll make these changes and I'll literally email it to you tomorrow. That's the beauty of having a good reg when you start and a good one when you finish. And a good audience member. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Joyce, thank
Joyce.
you for
Thanks,
this.
Joyce.
This is a lot of hard work you did.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
It's hard to do this because every community has little nuances that they change or shift on. And there are quite a few trying to just not work out of two different regulations, so they want the state one merged into their local one. All right,
We work with the whole state.
no, I work with the North Shore and Cape Ann, so 16 municipalities, all the way from like Lynn and Nahant, all the way up to Rockport.
Because I was in the board,
Yeah, a lot.
I was in the board of health in Chelmsford, and I was wondering.
Oh, Ron Beauregard, maybe, how long ago were you there?
5 years ago.
Oh, yeah, Ron Beauregard, I think was in Chelmsford. It is a lot of running around. There's about 400 retailers in that catchment area. And we visit them all at least once for an inspection.
That was a question I had. Do you do two or three a year?
Compliance checks?
Yeah.
So compliance checks, we typically do, we're obligated to do one through the
Yeah.
grant contract. Then the state sends a random sample of anywhere between 40 and 60
Yeah.
of our retailers, 40 or 60% of our retailers to recheck.
So theoretically, it's basically two a year.
Yeah, and then if anyone has a violation, we typically follow up on that in 6 months to make sure, because it's just such a snapshot in time, and it's
Yeah.
like. last-
Who's the employee this month?
Yeah, well, you know what though, I mean, Gloucester had the last one, a couple of the retailers like hadn't sold in a long time, so it was kind of shocking. I will say we've asked a couple of our retailers, and one of them was from Gloucester, and he agreed to participate in a focus group that DPH is hiring a contractor to talk to the retailers about what could we be doing better for you, and hopefully something will come out of that, you know. And one of your retailers was very happy to be asked, so that was good. Yeah. So thank you guys very much. And do we know our next date for the next meeting already?
Next meeting, we're back to the second Thursday of the month, so that would be Thursday, July the 13th.
Just want to check this. All right, you're in. I always try and get them in quick because someone wants that time slot. And Rockport, I think, is meeting on Monday of that week. So thank you guys very much, everybody, for your help, for your hard work, for your
Thank you.
cross.
See you next month.
Yes, exactly.
And any concerns of the board? Any concerns?
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Eric,
Yes. Yes.
Going back to that, Jones Creek, issue with the construction, what's gonna be the follow-up? Is there gonna be communication between our Board of Health and Peter Seminara from the constable? Is there gonna be any follow-up to all this concern? And this is a significant complaint that was brought before our board, and we just sort of just said, okay, we just went on to new business. Like, what's the follow-up?
So Don, unfortunately, I guess, was part of my day job permitting that project through conservation. So I've actually been involved a little bit with conservation. They're dealing with a lot of the environmental health issues in Peter Seminara. I agree, it's not good what's happening up there. But
Are you surprised, Thor, to hear this level of incompetence that allegedly is being reported?
Yeah, it was a simple project, they were replacing a water line in the road. And they encountered a lot of water and they destroyed, there's a culvert that runs under.
Atlantic
Street, the intersection of Castleview and the two Atlantic roads there, it was very old. And the water line went through it. And when they opened the road up, the culvert collapsed. And that was really like the huge issue they ran into, and they had a lot of water to get rid of, and they weren't getting water out of the trench very well. So I've been involved and Chuck, the conservation agent, I know, been out there a lot, trying to help them right the ship.
So were they pumping thousands of gallons of fresh water into the clam flats? Is that where it was going?
I think a lot of the sediment and somewhat dirty water was because of the disturbance with the culvert got out there. I think some of the construction, they had erosion control set up along the road, edge of the road, but when they just weren't managing the excavated soil from the trench very well. So it was, from what I saw when I was out there, it was getting beyond the erosion controls, getting in the marsh.
Is there blasting going on up there?
No,
Further down.
not that I'm aware of. There could be eventually, but
Going down towards Winger Sheep where they have all the forest cleared out there.
yeah, that would be the one spot that I could see it happening, but I don't think they're doing any active blasting as far as I know.
So is the water still leaking? Or is it stopped?
They supposedly stopped, but I haven't been out there since Tuesday, so.
It's gonna be tough this summer with the Winger Sheep beach traffic and everything in there. It was tough just for us to get through with one car that.
So when I talked to them Tuesday,
Yeah.
they said they were just gonna do the two ends, and then close it up.
Yeah.
And be done, I think, by the end of this week or the next week, and then just get out of there and finish the rest of it, the middle connection next fall or winter, when they can actually work in there. That's what I was told. That's probably what they should do at this point, because there's a lot of work left, so.
Sounds like it was a disaster.
It sounds like it was. I mean, yeah, and the other stuff sounds awful too for the neighbors, but I don't know what we can help in that respect. Yeah. We all thought it would be a little bit easier, and perhaps contractor was in a little over their heads, but.
Thanks.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Thor. I'm going to make a site visit there this weekend. I'm going to check it out. If that's okay with everybody. Because these clam flats, this was presented to us, to this Board of Health within the last year regarding redoing, before you came on, Thor, redoing septic systems. And they told us that these clam flats represented like a third of the commercial clam production in this area. And I just don't want to be sitting here in August and July now talking about the damage done to the clam flats. We just sat here doing nothing. So I'm gonna take a look at this weekend.
Is there any way to know how much damage has already been done to the?
I don't think so.
That's gonna have to include land warrant, and that's gonna have to be other sections.
And it's really not like as much as I'd love to say, stop doing it, it's really Conservation Commission. It has jurisdiction over everything. Maybe we can step in and help, but.
We can at least in the public eye, make contact with the Conservation Commission just to say what the heck's going on up there. Just so that way it's a handshake across the board kind of thing.
Yeah.
So my question, Thor, is what kind of sewage are they gonna have for these homes? Did someone say there were gonna be hundreds of condo units?
I don't know I don't know what the end goal is for the big project. Leslie might know, I do, I'm not working for them on that. We just did the water line permitting.
Okay, all right.
But I think there is a pretty significant residential development at the main property up there that's coming, but that would be on septic. Yeah.
Yes. And so if it's on septic and it's within so many feet of these clam flats, shouldn't we be hearing about this?
They haven't proposed anything yet formally.
Okay,
To anyone, to my understanding.
okay. Thank you, guys. I gotta run. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Doug. Do you have any?
Yeah, we started doing soil testing. I've witnessed soil evaluations.
And
And they're going to be submitting plans for septic systems for about maybe 7 homes. Each of them are duplexes along the Atlantic Street area where they've cleared a lot of trees. I believe they've cleared these trees by now.
how did the testing go?
The testing was good. They'll be able to put in septic systems, about 7 along the street. And then at some later date, they'll do more testing for a large communal system and some number of homes. It's not clear how many they're going to be able to get in because they have to be 200 feet from the coastal resource area. And they haven't yet given us a proposal that has the correct 200-foot setback. So once they do, it'll show however many homes they think they can fit in.
Okay.
They don't plan to request any relief to the local setbacks. You don't think?
And they haven't yet, so with the soil testing, everything that they showed originally was beyond the 200 feet. However, conservation pointed out that their lines were not good, so that they had to shift those before we could do soil testing for the larger septic system.
Okay. And maybe, did any discussion happen about the land subject to coastal zone flowage and how that ties into our 200-foot setback for coastal resource areas?
So it may be, the answer may be yes, I'm not sure. The issue is that the 200-foot setback, they set it from, I think, the coastal bank. Whereas in some places, the coastal bank matched the AE.
Okay.
In other places, they just kept following the coastal bank and didn't follow the AE. So conservation says you need to follow the AE. And be 200 feet away from that.
I don't think they should have coastal bank out there, but they do.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They were about 4 different lines. Some of them were together, some of them were separate. And it was the AE that they needed to follow better.
Right. Yeah. So I think that, that should be the one that's closest to a development, would be my guess. Definitely closer than the wetland edge. I know we talked about it for that other project on Atlantic Street.
Yeah.
Anything else? I move that we close the meeting. Yes, Eric.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Great job, Eric.